Elway feeling the pressure in Mile High after a 6th straight loss with the Broncos quarterback carousel. No pressure, no diamonds. Max, they're calling him a coach killer. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't think Elway is a coach killer. I think Trevor Siemian and Brock Osweiler may be coach killers. I know I spent earlier in the show talking about, hey, it's not so much about the quarterback, it seems, as it is about the infrastructure, as Barnwell points out. But you do have to have competent quarterback play, and they have not had that. Now, you could say, Stephen A., that Elway is in charge of getting the quarterback, but that's different than saying the GM is a quarterback killer. A coach killer, a guy who's going to interfere, etc. Elway has shown the ability to put an infrastructure in place that got to the Super Bowl with offense, that won a Super Bowl with defense. He's done it in different ways, and I think if you get to two Super Bowls in a half dozen years, it's tough to say that the guy in charge is a coach killer.
Well, first of all, I agree with you. He's not a coach killer. It's utterly inaccurate to call him that. John Fox was there for 4 years. Some people thought he shouldn't have been there that long, okay? So after he leaves, who do you have here? You have Gary Kubiak. Gary Kubiak stepped away from the game due to primarily health reasons. We haven't seen or heard from him really since that particular moment in time because obviously it had a lot to do with his health as to why he couldn't handle the head coaching responsibilities for the Denver Broncos any longer. Now you've got a situation where you got Vance Joseph up in there. The reality is that the quarterback situation needs to be improved. There's no doubt about that. You can sit up there and say that Elway gets in the way because of the quarterbacks that he thrust upon you. He didn't re-sign Brock Osweiler because Brock Osweiler was asking for too much. Turns out he was prophetic in what his beliefs were about Brock Osweiler. Okay, Trevor Siemian hasn't lived up to snuff, even though he was better last year at times than he's been this year. We're still waiting to see what Paxton Lynch has in store for you. So I wouldn't call John Elway a coach killer. And for any coach out there to say, people are reluctant to come to Denver, please. You know how many offensive and defensive coordinators were given arm and a leg to be a head football coach in the National Football League? I don't want to hear that nonsense. It's utterly ridiculous. Maybe some of the big-time coaches might have reticence, but it's because they have options. Other coaches looking for an opportunity. Please, there's plenty of them out there. John Elway doesn't have anything to worry about in that regard.
He does need to get better. It's ironic. He has to get better at identifying quarterback talent because the only time he's hit really is with Peyton Manning. That's the only time Peyton Manning was available. He got him. Otherwise, he's missing with every quarterback.
Fair enough.
Who's it been since then? Who's it been since then? Who has he had an opportunity to have? Remember, he didn't sign Brock Osweiler. He didn't give him $37 million guaranteed in the $70 million contract. He wasn't willing to do that. He let the Houston Texans do all of that. So once that departed, because remember, he was the guy being groomed, and then he didn't want the challenge, so he ran to Houston. So if you're John Elway at that particular moment in time, that's where Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch even came into our mind's eye. One of the reasons why Paxton Lynch was drafted, because that was a situation that wasn't anticipated because Brock Osweiler seemed willing to accept the mantle of taking over for Peyton Manning. He had started a few games in Peyton Manning's last season when Peyton Manning was looking absolutely awful before he came back and was the ultimate game manager and got them to a Super Bowl victory. We thought that Brock Osweiler was going to be the heir apparent. He didn't want the challenge, so you had to change course. But, who should they have brought? Colin Kaepernick. We can make an argument. Maybe there should have been stronger consideration for him or whom else.
Or you draft a quarterback who sticks. Even the Rams, when it looked like they made a mistake with Goff, actually they got him some protection, they got him different things, and all of a sudden Goff is playing, Wentz is playing. Now, those are very high draft
picks. Yeah, but there was a number one overall pick,
Dak Prescott wasn't. Right,
Lynch was at the bottom of the first round.
But Dak Prescott wasn't a high draft pick. Jimmy Garoppolo's now going to be given the keys in San Francisco. He was relatively a second round, but they have second round picks. Elway's problem is he can't identify so far legitimate quarterback talent in the draft. Period. By the way, the same thing in Cleveland. That's really the problem. The teams who can't identify quarterbacks in the draft can't win.
Cleveland's a different animal because you're going to pick high in the draft. If you're Denver, you were picking a little bit low and you didn't anticipate. But we can't get on Elway for missing out on the Dak Prescott thing. No question.
Elway is so good in so many other areas that, in fact, I just said he can't win. He can win in spite of not being able to identify quarterback talent in the draft.
The Broncos, meanwhile, try to avoid their first 7-game losing streak in the last 50 years. They're playing the Raiders up there in the black hole. This should be an exciting game, but this season turned out different than expected. Coming up,
I'm not
gentlemen.
excited about the Broncos this year.
Yep, really the Raiders either. Joe Morgan catching a lot of criticism for saying he's not a fan of known steroid users making the